Hello, it is I, Alex, aka ReznovRulz. So, yeah, I'm just going to introduce myself. So I'm really not quite sure what I should be talking about. So, yes, you already know that my name is Alex. Oh yeah, and don't worry, I will be editing this in case there are like long gaps in between things that I say. Oh yes, and the name ReznovRulz. I came up with that back in 2010 when I was like 13. Yeah, my big brother said that Reznov was awesome, and because I was rather impressionable at that age, I pretty much worshipped whatever the fuck my brother said. I was just like, yeah, he's awesome. So I ended up with naming my YouTube ReznovRulz, and of course back then I had absolutely no idea. Yeah, someone put a porn spray on the wall. That's annoying. It's just plain distracting. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Yeah, back at that time when I named my YouTube channel ReznovRulz, I had no idea that there was going to be a game called Call of Duty Black Ops in which Reznov would return. Alright, so the name ReznovRulz, I still kind of like it. I mean, it's got no numbers next to it, it's kind of a catchy name, RR, and the spelling, yeah, it is kind of a cool name though, still. I still think that, even if it wasn't all that well thought out, it's still a pretty good name for a YouTube channel. And yeah, I just made that YouTube channel pretty much for commenting, and it wasn't until later where I decided to make Launch4j error because I was trying to mod Minecraft, and it caused me to end up with the Launch4j error. So I decided I was like, okay, I'll make a video on YouTube asking for help. However, that wasn't really solving my problem that quite fast enough. However, it did gain views quite quickly, and then I made a bunch of other stupid videos that I ended up taking down just because they were pointless, useless spam. Okay, so then at school I thought up Soldier is a homophobe, and yeah, not really very creative, but it was my first Gary's Mod video, and I did a fairly good job at editing with Soldier's dialogue to say faggot. Oh yes, and yeah, faggot isn't really a nice word. I know that. I mean, to be fair, using the word faggot in like a really hateful way, or insulting way, like many people do, I'd say it's probably like worse than saying nigger out in the middle of a black neighborhood. Okay, maybe not that bad, but yeah, it's still pretty fucking bad. Just because it's such a hateful word that just goes against people who are different from you. And yeah, the real origin of homophobia was from the Bible-loving Christians. Oh god, I do love them so much. Sarcasm. Yeah, that was sarcasm right there. Okay. Yeah, so they're a bunch of homophobes, so they started referring to them as insulting things like sodomite and faggot and things like that because they thought that, they were an abomination because I don't know. Yeah, God's just that way, to be honest. God's just kind of an asshole. Yeah, and because of that, people grew up with their homophobic parents, and they thought, oh, because gay people are different from us and our parents don't like them, it's okay to use the word gay the same way we do stupid, and same with like faggot, you know? And yeah, I kind of did that for a while. Alright, so yeah, and then I created some more videos, and oh yeah, and at first with Soldiers is homophobe, I did it entirely in Windows Live Movie Maker, and using some sounds from the TF2 characters that I downloaded off of garysmod.org. However, then I found out about GCFscape, which you can use to extract sound files from source games, so that way I could pick out any sound from the games. So yeah, then I was able to improve the audio quite a bit for the video. And still to this day, Soldier's Homophobe isn't my most popular video. In fact, one of the more unpopular ones. In fact, to be fair, all my videos are not doing well, except for Launch4j error and screw sniping to some extent. Alright, then I followed up Get Out Now. Yeah, and of course I was just pretty much reenacting and dubbing that one scene from Terminator 2 in Gary's mod, and I came up with that idea when I was messing around with the material gun in Gary's mod, and I found that while the cube map model is kind of pixely and low detail when you actually use it on a cube, and how the reflection is just a single like static 2D reflection, but I found it did look really good on a curvy object like a sphere, or like the GIGN CT from Counter-Strike. And yeah, that was a pretty good idea. Using the GIGN CT, I shot him with it, and then I found, oh, he looks like that liquid metal guy from Terminator 2. Then I came up with that idea for a video. Okay, and then there was, one second, I need to go to YouTube and look at my list of videos to see what I have. Yes, and then there's a Heavy Mealtime teaser, and as of now, I don't think I'm going to do it. It probably won't have been that funny anyway. I mean, I'm almost certain it's been done elsewhere. Then there was Kaboom, where, yeah, I edited together the demo man saying Kaboom and the WTF bomb, as well as, and for the nuclear explosion, you can probably go on garysmod.org and find the nuclear weapons pack and future Minecraft project. I'm not sure if I still am going to go with that, but I might. Vegeta gets fat. Yeah, it was fairly clever, but kind of poorly edited. Oh yeah, and Headcrab.wmv. See, at that time I was learning how to import source models and textures into Blender, and then I learned how to create a movie using Blender, because apparently when you render an animation in Blender, it exports all of your screenshots one by one with the frame number as the name of the image file in a folder called TMP. When I found this out, I was like, oh, I can just go in Windows Live Movie Maker and drag them in at 0.0417 seconds, and ta-da, there you go. Oh yeah, and now that I've NCH software stuff with like VideoPad video editor, I don't really miss Windows Live Movie Maker much. I mean, it really limited what I could do, and as you can see in a lot of the videos, it shrunk down the display size for the video. Then there was and I was making kind of an attempt to startle the viewers if they were staying up a little too late. Yeah, it was pretty much the same concept as Headcrab.wmv, and I was kind of new at animating characters in Blender at the time, so yeah, that's why I ended up looping his arms when they wonked out. I thought it would look right, but apparently not. Then there was relaxing ocean sounds. Don't remember the exact process I used to create relaxing ocean sounds. I know that I recorded relaxing ocean sounds off of YouTube, found a picture of an ocean, and made it look as ugly as possible, as well as editing the living crap out of the relaxing ocean sounds in Audacity to make it really, make it really nasty ear rape, and I managed to do just that. Oh yeah, for those of you who missed out on it, here it is, the relaxing ocean sounds. Yeah, pretty nasty, right? Then there's that G-Man, and here I was able to improve with the animations again a bit, but once again, Windows Live Movie Maker decided to fuck up my video size. Yeah, it kind of sucks. Yeah, I think it has something to do with how the picture size was the exact same of the video. I mean the display resolution, so that way it ends up shrinking or something like that. And then there was Screw Sniping. I'd say definitely the best video on my channel that I've uploaded so far, and it is gaining views faster than all of them except for Launch4j Error. Oh, but Screw Sniping, well, the other Blender projects only took like maybe 4 hours to make. Screw Sniping took 23 hours. Please, if you're watching this, go ahead to Screw Sniping once this video's over and just give it a like and a comment, because I really want some kind of reward for the 23 hours I spent on it, you know? Oh yeah, and here's where the 23 hours went. First I modeled the sand dunes, well, I modeled part of them, and then put the subdivision surface modifier so that way they wouldn't be quite so straight and angled. Okay, so and then I of course imported the Counter-Strike terrorists into there, and I tried my best with designing materials to them. I used the Ori and Nair shader for their hands and stuff. Oh yeah, and the lighting setup. It was just a simple sun lamp as well that was it was white with kind of a yellowish tinge, and it had a power of 3 point something like that. And I also added 6 other sun lamps on top of the iconosphere pointing inwards to simulate the light coming down from the sky, because see, when the sun lights up the world, it also is part of it is reflected back into space, so that way the sun's not quite as bright as it would if there weren't any atmosphere, and some of the light is scattered beneath the atmosphere in a way so that the sky lights up the landscape, and that's why shadows aren't close to pitch black like they are at the moon. However, they will be very, very dark if you're in a place like a desert where the sun's really bright and your eyes adjust to the brightness in a way so that while the landscape doesn't hurt your eyes so much, the shadows are like too dark for you to see into. Oh yeah, then yeah, so lighting setup and the modeling the sand dunes. Oh yeah, and the texture of the sand dune is from Counter-Strike. Yeah, from Counter-Strike, and I did put some effort into creating good materials for each guy, because for a while I've been studying how different types of materials behave towards light, and my understanding in the video wasn't quite as good as it is now, but yeah, but everything looked pretty realistic in the video. I mean, if you went to my blog and saw the close-up shots of the CTs, you'd see how everything looks. Oh yes, and of course I used the indirect lighting thing. If you use Blender too, use the indirect lighting thing and make it bounce light at least once. And I would not recommend adding ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is a very approximated way of showing how light bounces more than once, and for places where it's more heavily occluded or places where light would not bounce quite as much, because even though when you put two objects close together, while you would expect the light to bounce in between them several times, they also shadow each other in a way so that the light from the rest of the scene is blocked, so that only the two objects light each other up by bouncing light at each other without the rest of the scene illuminating it. So that's the explanation for how small corners and stuff are darker the way they are in ambient occlusion. And you actually may want to multiply ambient occlusion over the scene slightly, just to kind of improve the shading a bit. And also, I think ambient occlusion may exist in real life to some extent, where instead of each face cast giving an occlusion path, the light is being blocked that's bouncing towards your eyes is being blocked by other objects, so that way it kind of appears as if each object is casting a shadow from a viewer perspective. However, of course, the object in front of the shadow is going to be blocking most of the shadow, and also the shadow will probably appear harsher depending on the roughness of the material that's being blocked. So like a glossy material won't be affected by occlusion much at all, but a very rough material like maybe cloth or carpet will. And when I look at when I told my dad about my theory with ambient occlusion, he thought that was kind of just an optical thing. Oh yes, and then there's my first impressions of 3ds Max. And I've wanted 3ds Max for a while, but now that I have it, it's just so confusing. I made the mistake of downloading it onto my laptop instead of my the family desktop, so that way it slows down the computer as much as possible. And yeah, it's really confusing, and yeah, I'm going to just keep using Blender for now, and I tried exporting stuff from Blender into 3ds Max just so that I could use one of the cool rendering engines that 3ds Max has, like Mental Ray and Lightwave 3D, but no, the importer for 3ds Max seems to be rather unreliable, while the importer in Blender, it's really quite reliable. And then there's the screw sniping outtake, which I uploaded to me and Brandon's collab channel, and then I refuse to shoot because I have a better idea. Yeah, just old-fashioned stuff, as well as silly dialogue. Oh yeah, and back to what I said earlier about hating gay people. I don't hate gay people, if that's what you think from seeing that, from that gay joke that I had in the screw sniping outtake, where Corporal Dunn throws the bowling ball at them, and instead of causing an explosion and killing them like it did in the original video, instead bursted a bunch of pink fumes. And then once the pink fumes disappeared, I put a volumetric pink lamp in Blender. And for some reason the volumetric shadows didn't show up like I hoped they would, but yeah, oh well. And if you do look closely, in the video, you can see that the edges of the spot lamp, my mistake. Okay, and yeah, and so after that they all ended up turning gay, and they started doing this weird dance where their arms like went flipped and wonked the fuck out, and it was pretty funny, bro, to be fair. And it had that kind of gay music in it. Yeah, and that the gay music I got from one of Jedin's videos. If you haven't seen Jedin, he's some Swedish guy with like super ADHD, and he makes pretty good stuff. Go ahead and check him out. I myself have ADHD, and I do really tend to lose my marbles when I forget my medication. Like one time I went to school without my medication, and at lunch I just pulled out a sheet of paper and wrote fuck as many times on it as possible. And it's still now, even though I'm fully medicated, I still think it is kind of fun. I mean, I never would have thought of something like that if I was medicated. So yeah, it does limit my medication does limit my creativity a little bit. Oh yeah, and also I hid some other words in there like fire truck and motherfucker. Oh yeah, and I also drew a penis in it jizzing on a smiley face. So it was like 8 equals 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 D dash 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 parenthesis equals, you know, that kind of thing. It just I thought it was still think it's pretty funny with the penis that jizzes on this smiley face. I mean the fact that the smiley face is like that. And yeah, I just find it to be really funny. Oh yeah, and then I made how to import source models and textures into Blender. And yeah, at the time, I didn't know if there was a free version of Debit Video Editor, so I used Cam Studio, which isn't nearly as good, or no, not Cam Studio, but Free Screen Recorder. Yeah, and Debit Video Capture software is so much better, and it's what I used for the gameplay. And yeah, and it looks pretty good, except for maybe it's rather pixely in a few places. So alright, so yeah, that's me, Alex, aka ReznovRulz. I don't think I have much else to talk about. That's all. Thanks for watching. Good night.